Hi, and welcome to the YMCA Update. Today we have something a little different for you. We have a great story about determination and inspiration. And so with that, I'd like to introduce the two people that are with me here today. Luca del Borgo, our Health and Wellness Director. Hi, Luca. I'm very good. And Bob Chappell, who is a new member at the YMCA. And we have a really exciting story that we're going to be talking about today. So I think what I'd like to do first is just ask you, Bob, tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I came to the YMCA Center because I needed to learn how to run better. But the first thing that I would like to do is I want to thank the Veterans Administration for absolutely making this possible. They have worked with me very diligently in allowing me to progress forward. In showing what I've done as an above-the-knee amputee, they have allowed me this running leg, which is very unusual, and they also gave me this leg, which is the Autobot Jeanine. I was the third one in third one in New England to receive this, first one in Rhode Island. This is a very, very big deal, as that leg is very expensive. What you see there is over $100,000.
Wow.
And it's all possible due to the Veterans Administration for me. I'm a former Navy veteran during the 70s, and that's where this came from. And basically, back up and why I came to the YMCA is in running, I pulled a couple of muscles, and I wasn't sure how to fix these. So at the running club, they told me to contact the Newman YMCA. When I contacted the Newman YMCA, spoke to Luca. Luca told me, he says, yeah, we need to work on you, you need to get into the pool. And that's how I came to Newman YMCA to work in the pool, is to work on the smaller muscles. My big muscles are okay. Right. It's all my little balance coordination muscles, because I've been an amputee for 12 years now. And in working back to become who I was previously, I was uneducated. And in being uneducated, I just, went to the gym and you hit it hard.
Sure.
And my quality muscles did show up, did reemerge, and I became, strong again. But the little balance coordination muscles, who knew? I didn't know what an abductor muscle was. Luca did.
We count on him for stuff like that. That's right.
But the interesting thing that I'd like you to touch on, because it's such an inspirational part of what touched me, and I said to Jeanine, we got to have this guy in here. I love how he talks and everything. Is first of all, just take us back to 2000 when you had your business and you were working, and what happened to get this
to this point in my life.
This point, yep. Well, not actually to this point, because there's something else that happened to get you to this point, but yes, to get you to the fact that you lost your leg.
Well, in January of 2000, I was working on a roof in Connecticut. I was working on a data satellite. Back then, the internet wasn't trusted for payment information, so to speak, so everything was over secure satellite. Well, this satellite I had put on this particular roof to receive data from New York was receiving gasoline transactions. And a winter storm had knocked it out, a snowstorm, and knocked it out of alignment or something. It wasn't functioning.
Yeah.
So I was convinced to go up on this roof, and even though it didn't look good, this was how I greeted the new millennium, January of 2000. Oh. Didn't worry about a computer crash. I had a body crash.
Yeah, literally.
So in repairing this satellite, I got it working. I was packing up my gear. Somehow I lost my footing. I don't remember what happened. All I know is I woke up on the ground 40 feet later. I fell in between a big bumper post and an HVAC unit right in between them. So I am very blessed that I landed where I landed. Now, laying on the ground, coming into recovery, took a long time. The doctors tried to save my leg.
8 months, I heard, yeah.
I had 200 fragments in my leg.
Were you in the hospital for 8 months?
I was in the hospital straight 3 months, and then in and out every month thereafter for about a week.
Okay.
I had somewhere in the vicinity of 18 surgeries trying to save this leg.
And it was all about, what, reconstructing the bone? And
yes, there was 200 fragments from here to here.
Yep.
And they were basically trying to put these fragments back together and have it heal itself. And
problems with infection, things like that?
Infection took it out. Okay. And so 8 months later, I had gone from 180 pounds to 260 pounds when they cut off my leg.
Wow.
My body was destroyed. You lay on your back, bedridden for 8 months. Your muscles don't work. Plus all the extra weight.
The atrophy of it and everything, of course.
And I went to physical therapy, and they didn't really know how to deal with amputees at that time. It wasn't that long ago, but they really didn't know how to deal with them. So I went through courses of physical therapy with that, and basically it didn't work very well. The sockets didn't fit well. I was not doing well at all.
Well, you also had a particular surgery cut that made it even more difficult because they basically
yes.
cut part of your femur, but it was they left part of the bump that comes out.
That's
and
correct.
That makes it even more difficult to
The
fix.
surgeon actually asked the prosthetist, how long should we make his leg? And the prosthetist replied, as long as possible. That was, I have found in hindsight, was a totally wrong answer. When the choice is given, there's very strict guidelines on what you can, on the length of the cut, because there are numerous options available between the knee and the prosthetic that I cannot use because I'm so long. As you see, my knees do not line up.
Yeah.
This makes it difficult for the
For everything that you're trying to do, including the walking.
the bike, everything. Yeah. The
So this would have been a point where if the person would have cut you a little bit higher, not to say in hindsight that the person was actually trying to save most of your bone, obviously, so that was his, but if they would have cut you a little bit more up, it would have been more, would they have been able to save your knee because your knee was completely gone?
Knee was
There
gone.
was no way to do anything about the knee.
correct.
Okay.
So if they had cut higher, the knees would have lined up and would have made the transition in physical
little bit
therapy
easier.
better. Right now, I still haven't figured out how to use an elliptical or a bike.
So then, basically, after they cut it, you stayed home for 7 years. I mean, for 6 years doing not very much.
I attempted to get well
On
in
your
a half-hearted, on my own. Yeah, absolutely, on my own, which did not work out very well. Basically, do you want me to tell you the story about the doctor now?
No, before you say that, because it connects to a lot of people who have no problems with their legs. You know, people get family history problems, they get job problems, they stay home and they get depressed. Whether their leg is a problem or not, I just wanted to make sure that the audience knows that everybody gets depressed, and that's one of the issues with us trying to get physical again, because the more you become sedentary, it's a catch-22, the harder it is to get back in shape.
Absolutely.
We've talked about that in this show with Jeanine, and the fact that you have to have that motivation that gets you going.
Well, we say at the YMCA there's a connection. It's a triangle: spirit, mind, and body. And you know, when one gets out of whack, it affects the other two.
Absolutely.
And so you really have to pull all of them together. And I think your story is a perfect example of how you have done that.
So and that's all I wanted to add, because we don't have the pictures here, and we're going to do another segment with Bob. But what's really interesting is to see the transformation from being, a working man to then being a man that's shattered, and we're going to just leave it at that, to then becoming a man with a mission.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'd love to hear, and I don't know if I've told Jeanine this part, but I love this story when you went to the hospital for a totally different reason, if I remember correctly. You were getting a flu shot or something?
Yeah, right.
What were you doing when you went to the doctor? When you went to the clinic to?
Oh, my wife had asked me to get my cholesterol checked.
Yeah, so it wasn't even anything to do with the leg.
I hadn't walked, I hadn't exercised, I hadn't done pretty much anything in 7 years. I was up to 290 pounds. The legs didn't fit because everything's weight relevant.
Pre-diabetic.
Pre-diabetic, blood pressure, cholesterol. I'm on 20 different meds. I'm basically dying. I go in to see this doctor. I said, my wife wants me to get my cholesterol checked. He says, why aren't you walking? I said, I'm just here to get my cholesterol checked. Why aren't you walking? He continued this rendition for 15 times. He would not say anything else except, why aren't you walking? I said, because the prosthetics don't fit, I'm bleeding, it's a mess, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
He comes back and says, so when's your next appointment? I said, I don't have an appointment. He hands me his cell phone and says, call right now and make an appointment. So I call up, I make an appointment, and I said, I need to see this particular doctor
who's one of the top.
Yes, one of the guys. He's got notoriety in understanding that this has to fit. The hardware doesn't matter if the socket doesn't fit.
What's the name of the person you went to see?
Peter, at Next Step Orthotics and Prosthetics.
That's phenomenal.
And I said, I called up and I said, I need to see Peter. And she says, well, it could be 2 months. I said, it's been 6 years, 7 years. What difference does 2 months make? So I made the appointment. I handed the phone back to the doctor. He says, okay, now I'll take your blood. And he took my blood, and I said, well, when am I going to find out the results? He says, well, it's got to be analyzed first, etc. Yeah. By the time I got home, Peter was already calling on the phone. I was like, Peter, what happened here? He says, I'll see you tomorrow. That's all he said. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, great. So I go in and see him, and he makes me a new prosthetic. It was massive. They have it on display up there. I have lost 16 or 18 inches in diameter on my thigh.
Wow. Just from the weight loss.
Yes. Yeah. That particular prosthetic allowed me to wear it comfortably, which allowed me to walk the distance. And this is where I talk to a lot of people about from one telephone pole length. That was it.
Yeah.
Out my door, one telephone pole length, and back. Eventually that increased. So about 3 months later, I went back to this facility to thank the doctor who had, basically gotten things going.
No, but wait, before you say that, you had, and I'm interrupting because this is a very important detail that I loved, is how did Peter tell you that he had changed his appointments? Because he was somewhere else.
That's what I was going to explain,
oh,
yes.
Sorry.
So I went back to thank this doctor, and the doctor was not there. He was a one-day fill-in. They didn't even know who he was. This was 3 months later. They would have to research it. So I went to Peter, and I said, Peter, are you aware that, this happened? He says, what, you don't know the story? And I says, what story? No. He says, I was in Hollywood. He called and was so insistent that they got a hold of me in Hollywood, and I flew back here for you because you were within 2 weeks of muscle apathy. You would have lost this leg, all the muscles completely.
Wow.
He says, you were critical. He says, no one ever told you this. I said, no.
Wow.
So not only did this doctor be at the right time in the right place, my wife got me there.
Right.
I guess I was in the right place mentally. This doctor got a hold of Peter, who got me walking, and due to this series of coincidences, no, not really, these things were supposed to happen, I've been able to get healthy. One thing has led to another, and this is why I know it's so important to reach people who are early in this or in any other physical impairment, even if they're just large, to understand that it's simple steps that begin the process to back to health.
Yeah, we were talking about pre-diabetic earlier, and when people get told they're pre-diabetic, they sometimes don't realize that needs to be a huge wake-up call.
Pre-diabetic, so important. It is now, that is the red stop flag to change your life now. I have had so many conversations with diabetics after the fact. I need to have it before the fact, before things happen. I talk to other amputees who are amputees because of diabetes.
Right.
And they've lost their lower leg, this part, due to diabetes. They don't change their life. I had this conversation Monday with 2 veterans. Now they're above the knee amputees because they didn't treat the diabetes. Now they're above the knee amputees and they're starting all over again, and they're looking to me for guidance and stuff, and if I can do it, they can do it, that kind of a conversation. I just wish I could reach people everywhere that when they're told that they're pre-diabetic, it's time to turn it around now.
Right, and not to be afraid to get support. Like you said, you tried on your own, and that wasn't working, and you really need the support. I don't know if our audience knows that the YMCA does have a diabetes prevention program, and you can enroll in that. Go on our website, check it out, and it's a great program. You get to use the Y while you're in the program, but it really addresses the behavior changes that you need to make that you can then be successful. You don't have to become a diabetic. You can avoid it as long as you take the right steps, and you have.
One thing that I found great that you just kicked in was the Lose It program. I was already using that program, and I linked up with it. Education is paramount. It's so key in getting your diet corrected. You think that you're drinking the right water. You think that you're eating the right foods. When you put it on paper and then you let Lose It do the math, and then you look at it, you go, "Oh my God,
where
am
all
I
that
off
salt
track?"
come from? That's true.
Not only that, the carbohydrates. When I started, when I got down, I was actually down to, I'm lower than this now, but I was down to 220, getting healthy, all on my own, thinking I was eating right. All of a sudden, I'm gaining weight again. I'm like, where did this come from? So I found the Lose It program, and I saw how many carbs I was ingesting. I was double carbs to protein. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Right, yeah. That's right.
And thanks to the Lose It program, which is free online, YMCA is sponsoring it. You can link it up, join a community.
It's actually Jeanine who's the one who actually got this.
Well, you can go right on our website and sign up for it through our website. It is free, and actually we did a 10-pound challenge, and right now people in the YMCA in 2 weeks' time have lost 290 pounds.
Wow.
Isn't that exciting?
Just from the people who signed up, so that's amazing.
Right, 290 pounds lost, and you're right, it's a matter of just being aware and having the education. So
there's another thing I wanted to ask you, which is important, and we're going into this, but with the diabetes and everything, as far as the distance within the leg that you lose and all that, talk about what you told me about all the data as far as 80% and as far as how difficult it is to get back from an injury the higher the leg cut is.
There's a couple of things that go on with this. I'm an above-the-knee amputee, so that's what I specialize in. And what I found out is the higher up the cut is, the harder it is for the limb to take weight.
It has to do with pain, right?
It has to do with pain, yes, bone pain.
Yeah.
And we're not talking, this is skin pain.
Yeah.
Bone pain is deep, and it's hard, and it hurts. I needed my prosthetic to be more comfortable, so I needed to bear weight on it. To bear weight on this, I had to deaden the stump. To deaden the stump, I couldn't really receive any advice. The advice that's available now on the internet is phenomenal. It's all great, but back then, in 2000, the internet didn't provide as much information as it does now.
Right.
So the only way I could figure out to deaden this, to make it more comfortable, was to use it.
Yeah.
So I started bouncing on my bed. I started bouncing on the carpet. Eventually, I ended up bouncing on granite. I would bounce on this leg until it was a bloody mess. Then I would stop because I'm bleeding.
Obviously. But it did the job.
It did the job, and then I would continue doing this until I could take weight.
Was this a process that took days, weeks, months?
Months. Everything that's worthwhile takes time. It's
well, you
true
got, probably 30, 40, 50 years ahead of you, so might as well take a few months to get back in shape, right?
Well, what a lot of people don't understand is, and I guess this is great, is I'm going to be 60 this year. And right now, as far as I can tell with working with the different places that I'm working with, I'm going to be the only above-the-knee amputee runner in New England.
Wow.
Not even counting at age 60. The VA in Providence has had nobody request to run. The VA in Boston had 3 requested, nobody approved. I am the first one that they know of in the Veterans Administration that's been approved to run. I know of other people who have successful businesses that are above-the-knee amputees who have thrown a ton of money at this, and they still can't run. And the reason is because it's here.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
determination. It's your determination.
It is.
So what made you decide to become a runner? Because you had told me that you were not an athlete prior to this.
No, not at all. I did construction my whole life. And athleticism is, if that's the right word, is all new to me. I have no clue. That's why I didn't know I pulled a muscle until it really got bad. What made me decide to become a runner is I need to do something outrageous to reach people in homes. In getting healthy, this is what I found phenomenal, is people were coming to me thanking me for showing up. I'm like, what are you doing? What do you mean thanking you? I had one woman come up to me in yoga, tears streaming from her eyes. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I said, okay. She says, I know you don't know for what. She said, my son just got back from Afghanistan. He's a below-the-knee amputee. He thinks his life is over. He just got out of Walter Reed, and he thinks his life is over. Can I use your story to help him. I said, not only can you use my story, here's my card, have him give me a call, I'll be glad to talk to him.
That's wonderful.
This continued, not only through this yoga class, but almost every single day at the gym. Somebody would come up to me thanking me for showing up. And all I was there for was for me to get healthy. I found that by my becoming healthy, I was inspiring other people. This is something I was not used to. I had no clue about this.
Suddenly you have a commitment.
Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of people actually look forward to me showing up. I don't know. It's all new.
No, and you in what week and a half that you've been at the Y, everybody knows who you are. No, it's true. I tell the story because it is inspirational. At the Y, I have these 3 posters in the post-rehab program area, and it's these amputees who've had, who are doing extraordinary things, and I count you as one of them. But, it's just amazing how people react to the leg now that there's going to be an Olympic guy who's below the knee,
yes,
who's going to be doing actual races against other non-amputees. So he's not in Special Olympics. He's in the Olympics for South Africa. And so it's raising some awareness. But the numbers that that Bob told me, as far as the veterans who are coming out with above-the-knee amputations, just the chance for them to walk are staggering.
Yes. I need to reach people, and this is why I decided to run. I need to do something outrageous to reach these people, because here's the statistics that you were talking about. 80% of above-the-knee amputees, that's my specialty, never walk again.
80%.
80%. In the 20% success rate, if they can wear their leg 4 to 6 hours per day, they're considered a success. That's not acceptable.
That's not a lot.
That's not a life. Yeah, exactly.
More than that. Diabetes, amputees, anything like this, if you're in a wheelchair and you reside to this wheelchair, your chances of living longer than 10 years is 1%.
1%.
1%. I had a doctor, when I fired him, had me on OxyContin for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Told me I would never get off of it, and so what? You're only going to live another 10 years anyway.
Wow.
I was like, what? He says, yeah. So what if you're on it for the rest of your life? It's only 10 years.
Well, that's why
unacceptable.
That's why that doctor saw you in the chair and had to have you get up. It's just an amazing story.
The statistics are frightening for wheelchairs. These power chairs that they advertise, I'm sorry, they're rolling coffins.
It's true. It's true.
Because at least in a chair, they're using their arms.
Exercise,
when they're sitting there using the switch,
it's just
now
basically turning people in ambulatory. I mean, it's you're getting somewhere, but you're not using any. I see younger and younger people in those little router chair. I forget what the name of them are, and unfortunately, it's just giving up in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm sure that there's issues where it's difficult, but if somebody like you can have the strength, I see people at Newman who are paralyzed from the neck down, who need wheelchairs, but they're still struggling and wanting to keep pushing at it. There's never a loss of hope, and unfortunately, that's one of the things that is scary out there, and I think you're doing a great job.
I'm hoping to make noise, to do something outrageous so that people will actually see me in their homes somehow, and I can pull them out, knowing that they're overweight, they think they can't get out of their own way. Yes, they can, through 10 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet at a time. It starts the process.
A little bit at a time.
I was 290 pounds, pre-diabetic, on 20 medications, OxyContin, above-the-knee amputee, hadn't worn my leg in 6 months, dying.
Yeah.
And I've turned it around, and I've turned it around quickly. For 7 years, I whined and tried to walk. On the 8th year, I decided to. This is now year 12.
And you're talking also about much younger people than you who are coming out of war with
all
Afghanistan.
of our returning veterans. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of combat injuries there are. Some of them they're in the best physical shape they are when they receive this trauma. Now they should be able to get up and walk and adapt to the brand new technology easily. Some do. Most do not. Every time I go to the Veterans Administration, I make sure I go early. It's one of the deals that I gave with them. So I just sit there, be seen, and have conversations with people. Every age is there. There's still World War II veterans that come there, and there's 20-year-old kids.
Wow. It's tough.
So this is a message of hope, and you're doing a great job with it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you're going to inspire a lot of people. We're just about at the end of our time here, but is there anything that you'd like to add for the last couple minutes? Part of our story that we should have covered?
Talk about how much you've walked today. I mean, you said you're doing 8-hour walks
that's
now.
Right.
Actually, it was 8 miles.
8 miles. Preparing for the eventual, hopefully,
yes,
5K you're going to be doing.
Learning that my endurance was not up to speed. Actually, in the water at the YMCA is show me the different muscles that need work. And in preparing to run a 5K to be seen, I actually did my longest walk, which was this past Saturday, which was 8 miles on the bike path, East Bay bike path.
So going
8
from
miles.
the telephone pole to
Yeah,
an 8-mile
telephone
walk.
pole. That's right. That's phenomenal.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to be able to help you with your journey. It's an honor for us to be part of this and to be able to help in some small way, and you're a great inspiration. Thank you so much for being here, Bob and Luca. We'll sign off, and thank you, audience, for being here, and we'll see you again next week on the YMCA Update.